I was staring at the barrel of a gun held by the man I called my brother. Dominic's hand didn't shake. Mine should have. 8 shots rang out before I hit the concrete floor. Blood pooled around me, warm and thick. The warehouse lights flickered above as his footsteps faded. $2 million in cash, gone. My trust shattered. My life ending. Or so he thought. He had no idea who he just tried to kill. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. 6 months earlier, I was standing in a hotel ballroom in downtown Denver, shaking hands with strangers at a Veterans Business Networking event. I'm Victor, former Navy SEAL, and back then I thought the hardest battles were behind me. I'd done 3 tours, lost brothers, earned scars I don't talk about. When I got out, I wanted something different, something clean, something that mattered. That's where I met Dominic. He walked up to me with this confident smile, solid handshake, the kind of guy who makes you feel like you've known him for years within 5 minutes. Victor, right? I heard you talking about private security consulting. That's exactly what I've been looking for. Dominic said he was former Army, logistics officer, spent years coordinating high-level operations in the Middle East. He had the talk, the walk, the charm. We grabbed coffee that night and didn't stop talking for 3 hours. He told me about his vision, building a private security firm that actually cared about protecting people, not just making money. I told him about my skills, my contacts, my reputation in the community. By the end of that week, we were business partners. We called it Guardian Tactical Solutions. I handled operations, training, field assessments, client meetings. Dominic handled the business side, finances, contracts, legal paperwork. It made sense. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He had the credentials, the experience, the drive. Within 4 months, we landed our first major contract. A tech company in Silicon Valley needed a complete security overhaul for their executive team. $2 million. Cash up front, as requested, because of some offshore tax loophole Dominic explained to me. I didn't ask too many questions. That was my first mistake. The money came in on a Friday afternoon. Dominic and I stood in our small warehouse office, staring at 2 black duffel bags stuffed with $100 bills. I remember laughing, shaking my head in disbelief. We actually did it, brother. He clapped me on the back. This is just the beginning, Victor. Just the beginning. I brought him home that weekend, introduced him to my wife, Clara, and our daughter, Harper. Clara made her famous lasagna. Harper, 16 and usually glued to her phone, actually seemed interested in Dominic's stories about Army life. He was good with them. Charming. Funny. He fit right in. You're lucky, Victor, Clara said later that night as we cleaned up the kitchen. It's rare to find a partner you can trust. I kissed her forehead. I know, but I didn't know. Not really. The first sign came 3 weeks later. I noticed Dominic wearing an expensive watch, Rolex, maybe 15 grand. When I asked about it, he shrugged it off. Gift from my dad before he passed. Finally got it repaired. Fair enough. Then I saw him on his phone constantly, stepping outside for calls, lowering his voice when I walked by. When I asked if everything was okay, he smiled. Just dealing with some family drama. Nothing to worry about. I wanted to believe him. So I did. But the Rowe warning came when I tried to access our business account to pay a vendor. The login didn't work. I called Dominic. Hey, the account password changed. Did you do that? There was a pause. Too long. Oh yeah, sorry man. Security upgrade. I'll send you the new login tonight. He never did. I should have pushed harder. I should have demanded answers. But I was busy, distracted, and honestly, I didn't want to believe my partner, my brother, would lie to me. That's what betrayal does. It hides in plain sight, wrapped in smiles and excuses until it's too late. 2 weeks ago, Dominic called me late at night. His voice was tense. Victor, we need to meet. Tomorrow. At the warehouse. Just you and me. It's about the money. My stomach dropped. What about it? Just meet me. 8 o'clock. Don't bring anyone. I hung up and stared at the ceiling all night. Clara asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes. The next evening, I drove to the warehouse. The parking lot was empty except for Dominic's black SUV. I walked inside. The overhead lights buzzed. Dominic was standing in the middle of the room, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "What's going on?" He didn't answer right away, just stared at me. Then he pulled out a gun. I froze. "Dominic, what are you doing?" "I'm sorry, Victor." His voice was cold, detached. "But you were never supposed to ask questions." I barely had time to move before the first shot hit my shoulder. Then my chest, my stomach, my leg. I fell backward, my head cracking against the concrete. Pain exploded through my body. Blood everywhere. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Dominic stood over me, watching, waiting, making sure I was dead. I wasn't. My SEAL training kicked in through the haze. Play dead. Don't move. Don't breathe too much. Survive. He bent down, grabbed the 2 duffel bags of cash from the office safe, and walked out. I heard his SUV start. Tires screeching. Silence. I was alone, dying, and nobody knew. I don't know how long I laid there. Time became nothing. Just pain. Just blood. Just the cold concrete pressing against my back. My vision blurred. The warehouse ceiling spun above me. I could feel my heartbeat slowing down, each pump weaker than the last. My body was shutting down. 8 bullet wounds. Any normal person would be dead already. But I'm not normal. The first thing they teach you in SEAL training is that your mind quits before your body does. Pain is just information. Fear is just noise. I focused on breathing. Shallow. Controlled. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Stay conscious. Stay alive. I moved my hand slowly toward my pocket. Every inch felt like a mile. My fingers were slippery with blood, but I managed to pull out my phone. The screen was cracked, covered in red, but it still worked. I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? I tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. Shot. 8 times. Warehouse on 5th and Clayton. Bleeding out. Sir, stay with me. Help is on the way. Can you tell me your name? Victor. Victor Kane. Victor, I need you to stay on the line. Can you do that for me? I wanted to, but my hand dropped. The phone slid across the floor. Darkness swallowed me whole. When I opened my eyes again, I was staring at white ceiling tiles and fluorescent lights. Beeping machines. The smell of disinfectant. Hospital. I was alive. A nurse noticed me stirring and rushed over. Mr. Kane, don't move. You're in ICU. You've been in surgery for 9 hours. 9 hours. My throat was dry. My family. They're here. They've been here the whole time. Let me get the doctor. A few minutes later, a surgeon in blue scrubs walked in, clipboard in hand. He looked tired. Mr. Kane, I'm Dr. Patel. You're incredibly lucky to be alive. You were shot 8 times. 2 bullets missed major organs by millimeters. We removed 6. 2 are still lodged near your spine. Too dangerous to remove right now. You'll need months of physical therapy. I nodded weakly. There are also 2 detectives outside who need to speak with you. Whenever you're ready. I wasn't ready, but I didn't have a choice. The detectives walked in, one older, gray-haired, the other younger, sharp-eyed. The older one introduced himself. I'm Detective Ryder. This is Detective Hayes. We need to ask you some questions about what happened. I told them everything. Dominic. The business. The $2 million. The shooting. Ryder wrote it all down, his face grim. We found your business accounts. They've been completely drained. Dominic Wells closed them 3 days ago and transferred everything offshore. We also found his SUV burned out near the state line. Inside was a body. Male, same height and build as Dominic. Dental records match. My chest tightened. He faked his death. That's what it looks like, Hayes said. He planned this for months, Mr. Kane. Fake IDs, offshore accounts, escape routes. He's gone. I felt rage building inside me, but I kept my voice steady. Then find him. Ryder looked at me carefully. We will. But there's something else you need to know. He pulled out a tablet and showed me security footage from our office. It was from 2 months ago. Dominic was sitting at the desk, but he wasn't alone. Another man was with him, Someone I recognized immediately. Blake, my lawyer. The man I trusted with every legal document, every contract, every signature. They were laughing, shaking hands, passing papers back and forth. Blake Morrison, Ryder said. Your business attorney. We believe he was helping Dominic forge documents, transfer funds, and cover tracks. We're bringing him in for questioning. I felt sick. Not from the bullets. From the betrayal. There's one more thing, Hayes added quietly. We found evidence that suggests Dominic had help from someone else. Someone close to you. We don't know who yet. Someone close to me. I thought of Clara. Harper. My small circle of friends. Who could it be? The detectives left, promising to keep me updated. A few minutes later, the door opened again. Clara rushed in, her eyes red and swollen from crying. Harper was right behind her, her face pale and scared. Victor, Clara's voice broke as she grabbed my hand. Oh my God, Victor. Harper stood frozen at the foot of the bed, tears streaming down her face. Dad, I thought you were dead. They said you were dead. I tried to smile, but it hurt. I'm not that easy to kill. Clara sat down beside me, holding my hand tightly. Who would do this? Why would Dominic do this? I don't know. I lied. I knew exactly why. Greed. Power. Money. The same reasons people betray each other every day. Harper wiped her eyes. Are they going to catch him? Yes, I said firmly. They will. But deep down, I knew the truth. The police would do their job. But if I wanted real justice, I'd have to find Dominic myself. Over the next 2 weeks, I healed faster than the doctors expected. SEAL conditioning, they said. I did physical therapy every day, pushed through the pain, refused the heavy painkillers. I needed my mind sharp. While I was stuck in that hospital bed, I started my own investigation. I used old military contacts to access databases the police couldn't touch. I hacked into our company's email server using a backdoor I'd set up months ago, just in case. What I found made my blood boil. Dominic had been planning this for at least 6 months. He'd been siphoning small amounts from the account, testing the system. He communicated with Blake through encrypted emails, discussing exit strategies and clean transfers. They thought they were smart. They weren't smart enough. But the worst discovery came when I found a message from 3 months ago. Dominic had written to Blake. She signed the transfer authorization today. Didn't even read it. Victor trusts her completely. This is going to be easier than we thought. My heart stopped. Clara. No, it couldn't be. I scrolled further and found an attachment, a scanned document with Clara's signature at the bottom. It was a financial authorization form, giving Dominic full access to withdraw funds without my approval. She'd signed it. I sat there in that hospital bed, staring at the screen, feeling like I'd been shot all over again. When Clara came to visit that evening, I watched her carefully. She smiled, brought me soup from home, talked about Harper's school project. She seemed normal, loving, concerned, but I couldn't stop thinking about that signature. Clara, I said slowly, do you remember signing any papers for the business? Maybe a few months ago. Her face changed. Just for a second. A flicker of something, guilt? Fear? Papers? I don't think so. What? Just trying to piece things together. She nodded quickly. Too quickly. Right. Of course. I'll try to remember. She left an hour later. I watched her go, my mind racing. That night, I got an email. No name. No subject line. Just a message. If you want your money back, meet me. I know where Dominic is. But you won't like what else I know. There was an address at the bottom. A diner on the edge of town. Tomorrow, noon. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I hit reply. I'll be there. I checked myself out of the hospital against doctor's orders. They said I needed at least another week of observation. I didn't have a week. I had questions that needed answers, and I wasn't going to find them lying in a hospital bed. Clara tried to stop me. Victor, you're not ready. You can barely walk. I'm fine, I said, pulling on my jacket. Every movement hurt, but I dealt with worse. I need to handle some things. What things? The police are investigating. Let them do their job. I looked at her, really looked at her, searching for any sign of guilt, any crack in the mask. She looked back at me with those same eyes I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. Concerned, worried, innocent. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that signature was forged. Maybe Dominic manipulated her without her knowing. Or maybe she was a better liar than I thought. "I'll be back tonight," I said, and walked out before she could argue. The diner was old, the kind of place where the coffee tastes like burnt rubber and the booths have duct tape holding the vinyl together. I arrived 20 minutes early, scanned the parking lot for threats, checked exits, positioned myself in the back corner with a clear view of the door. Old habits. At exactly noon, a woman walked in. Late 30s, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, leather jacket, jeans. She looked tired, angry, broken. She spotted me immediately and walked over, sliding into the booth across from me without a word. "You're Victor," she said. It wasn't a question. "And you are?" "Morgan. Morgan Ellis." The name didn't mean anything to me. "How do you know where Dominic is?" She laughed bitterly. "Because I was stupid enough to love him." That got my attention. Morgan leaned forward, her voice low. "Dominic and I were together for 2 years. He told me he was building a security business, that he was going to make it big, that we'd have everything we ever wanted. I believed him. I helped him set up offshore accounts, fake IDs, shell companies. I didn't know what it was for. I thought it was just smart business." "When did you find out?" 3 weeks ago. He came to my apartment, packed a bag, kissed me on the forehead, and said he had to disappear for a while. Said it was for a job. He'd be back in a month." Her jaw clenched. Then I saw the news. Burned body in a car. Business partner shot 8 times. $2 million missing. I put it together pretty fast. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because he used me, just like he used you. And I want him to pay." I studied her face. She wasn't lying. The pain was too real. "Where is he?" "Mexico. Coastal town called Playa Encantada. He's renting a villa under the name Julian Torres. Living like a king on your money." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Dominic, sunglasses, tropical shirt, sitting by a pool with a drink in his hand. Smiling. Rage burned through me, hot and sharp. "There's something else you need to know," Morgan said, her voice dropping even lower. "Dominic didn't do this alone. He had a partner inside your circle. Someone who gave him access, information, opportunities." "I know. Blake Morrison. My lawyer." She shook her head. "Blake was just the money guy. I'm talking about someone closer. Someone in your family." My blood went cold. "What are you talking about?" Morgan hesitated. "I don't know the details, but I heard Dominic on the phone once. He said, 'She's handling it. Victor won't suspect a thing.' I asked him who he was talking about. He said it was business and changed the subject." She. The word echoed in my head. Clara's signature on that document. Her nervous reaction when I asked about it. "No, it couldn't be." "Do you have proof?" I asked. "No, just what I heard. But if you want the truth, you need to dig deeper." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Morgan slid a piece of paper across the table. "That's the address of the villa in Mexico. And Dominic's new phone number. Do what you want with it." I took the paper. "What do you want out of this?" "Justice. Revenge. Whatever you want to call it. I want him to know what it feels like to lose everything." I nodded. "Then we're on the same side." She stood up to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Be careful. Dominic's not just hiding. He's connected now. Cartel money. Dangerous people. If you go after him, you better be ready for a fight." "I'm always ready." She walked out, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a piece of paper that could change everything. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I drove to Blake Morrison's law office. It was closed, yellow police tape across the door. The FBI had already raided it. Good. But I needed more than what the police would find. I needed to know exactly how deep this betrayal went. I called an old Navy buddy, a guy named Tristan who now worked in private cybersecurity. If anyone could crack Blake's systems, it was him. "Victor? Man, I heard what happened. You okay?" "I've been better. I need a favor." "Name it." "I need you to pull everything off Blake Morrison's servers. Emails, documents, financial records. Everything. There was a pause. That's illegal, brother. I know. But the law moves slow, and I don't have time. Can you do it or not? Another pause. Then, give me 48 hours. Thank you. I hung up and drove home. Clara was in the kitchen making dinner. Harper was upstairs doing homework. Everything looked normal, peaceful, but nothing felt right anymore. How did it go? Clara asked, not looking up from the stove. Fine. Just had to meet with the insurance company. Another lie. We were drowning in them now. She nodded. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. I went upstairs to Harper's room. She was sitting at her desk, headphones on, typing on her laptop. When she saw me, she pulled the headphones off. Hey, Dad. Feeling better? Yeah, getting there. I sat on the edge of her bed. Harper, I need to ask you something. She turned to face me. Okay. A few months ago, did you ever see Dominic at the house when I wasn't here? Her face shifted. Just slightly. Yeah. Once or twice. He stopped by to drop off papers for Mom. Papers? Yeah. Business stuff, I think. Mom signed some things. What? My stomach twisted. No reason. Just trying to remember the timeline. She looked at me, confused, but didn't push. I kissed the top of her head and left the room. That night, after Clara and Harper went to bed, I sat alone in my office with a glass of whiskey I didn't drink. I pulled up the scanned document again. Clara's signature. Clear as day. I wanted to believe she didn't know what she was signing. That Dominic manipulated her. That she was a victim, not a conspirator. But doubt is a poison. Once it's in your blood, it spreads. My phone buzzed. A text from Tristan. Got into Blake's server. You're not going to like what I found. Call me. I called him immediately. Talk to me. Tristan's voice was grim. Blake was laundering money through fake contracts for months. But that's not the worst part. I found emails between him and Dominic going back almost a year. They were planning this from the beginning, Victor. Before you even partnered with Dominic. What else? There's an email thread labeled insurance policy. It's about setting up a contingency in case you got suspicious. They discussed having someone close to you sign authorization forms, someone you'd never suspect. My throat tightened. Did it say who? No, just referred to her as the wife. The room tilted. Victor, there's one more thing. Blake kept a backup of all his communications, including voice recordings. I found one from 3 months ago. You need to hear it. He played the audio. Blake's voice came through first. Are you sure she'll sign it? Then Dominic's voice, cold and confident. Positive. She trusts me. She thinks I'm helping Victor. Women like her are easy. Just smile, compliment them, make them feel important. She signed the transfer form this morning. Didn't even read it. Blake laughed. You're a damn artist, Dom. I know. Now Victor's wife is legally responsible if anything goes wrong. If he digs too deep, we pin it on her. She takes the fall, we walk free. The recording ended. I sat there, frozen, the phone pressed to my ear. Clara didn't conspire against me. She was set up, used, manipulated. And if this all came out, she'd be the one facing charges. Dominic didn't just steal my money. He tried to destroy my entire family. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Clara's face, heard Dominic's voice on that recording, felt the rage building in my chest like a storm I couldn't control. By morning, I made my decision. I needed to protect Clara from this mess, even if she didn't know she was in danger. And the only way to do that was to find Dominic and end this before the FBI connected all the dots back to her signature on those documents. I couldn't tell her the truth. Not yet. She'd panic, or worse, she'd try to turn herself in to protect me. That wasn't going to happen. So I lied. Again. I have to go out of town for a few days, I told her over breakfast. Insurance investigation stuff. Routine. She looked up from her coffee, concerned. Are you sure you're ready to travel? You just got out of the hospital. I'm fine. The sooner I handle this, the sooner we can move on. Harper walked into the kitchen, backpack slung over her shoulder. Where are you going, Dad? Just business. I'll be back before you know it. She hugged me tight. Be safe. Always. I kissed Clara goodbye, grabbed my go bag, and walked out the door. The guilt sat heavy in my stomach, but I pushed it down. This was the only way. I drove straight to Morgan's apartment. She answered the door in sweatpants and a tank top, hair messy, eyes tired. Victor, didn't expect to see you so soon. I need everything you know about Dominic's setup in Mexico. Contacts, routines, security. Everything. She stepped aside to let me in. The apartment was small, cluttered with moving boxes. I'm leaving town, she said, noticing me looking around. Can't stay here anymore. Too many memories. I understand. But first, I need your help. She poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down across from me at the kitchen table. What do you want to know? You said he's connected to the cartel. How deep? Morgan's face darkened. Deep? He started laundering money for them about 3 months ago. That's how he planned to clean your $2 million, run it through their system, make it look legitimate. In exchange, they give him protection, new identity, security. Which cartel? Los Serpientes. They control that region. Dominic met with their enforcer a few times. Guy named Mateo. Cold as ice. Kills people for fun. I filed that information away. Does Dominic know you're talking to me? No. He thinks I'm still heartbroken and stupid. He has no idea I figured it out. Good. Keep it that way. She pulled out her phone and showed me photos, screenshots of text messages, maps, addresses. This is everything I have. The villa is on the north end of town, gated property, 3 security cameras, 2 guards at night. Dominic usually goes out for dinner around 8, always to the same restaurant, a place called La Maria. He's careful, but predictable. I studied the information carefully. What about his phone? He changes burner phones every week. But I have his current number. She wrote it down on a napkin and slid it across the table. I looked at her. Why are you helping me? Really? Morgan's jaw tightened. Because he made me feel like I mattered. Like I was part of something important. Then he threw me away like garbage. I want him to feel what that's like. Revenge. Justice, she corrected. There's a difference. Not always. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Morgan leaned forward. There's something else I need to tell you. About the person in your family who helped Dominic. My heart stopped. What about them? I did some digging after we talked. Called a few people, checked some records. Dominic didn't just manipulate your wife into signing those papers. He seduced her emotionally, made her feel special, took her to lunch, bought her gifts, listened to her problems. She probably didn't even realize what was happening. The anger I'd been holding back exploded. You're saying he had an affair with my wife? No. I'm saying he made her think he cared. That's how he operates. He finds your weak spot and exploits it. With you, it was trust and brotherhood. With her, it was attention and validation. I stood up, pacing. Clara wouldn't. I'm not saying she did anything wrong, Victor. I'm saying Dominic is a master manipulator. He used her without her even knowing it. And if you go after him with rage instead of strategy, he'll use that too. I forced myself to breathe. She was right. Emotion was the enemy. I needed to think like a seal. Calm, calculated, lethal. How long will it take you to get to Mexico? Morgan asked. 2 days. Maybe less. Then you better move fast. Because Dominic's not planning to stay there forever. He's setting up something new. Another con. Another victim. Not if I stop him first. Morgan stood and walked me to the door. Be careful, Victor. Dominic's dangerous. But the cartel? They're worse. If you go after him, they'll come after you. Let them. She smiled sadly. You really are a SEAL, aren't you? No fear. Just mission. Fear's just noise, I said. I learned a long time ago to tune it out. I drove to a storage unit on the edge of town where I kept equipment from my military days. Tactical gear, weapons, surveillance equipment. Things most civilians would never need. Things I hoped I'd never need again. But here we were. I packed light. 2 pistols, a knife, night vision goggles, a satellite phone, cash. No traceable electronics. No digital footprint. Ghost protocol. Before I left, I called Detective Ryder. Victor, where are you? We need you to come in for more questioning. I can't right now. I'm following a lead. What kind of lead? The kind you don't want to know about. Victor, don't do anything stupid. Let us handle this. Your way takes too long. My way ends it. Victor, I hung up. The drive to the Mexican border took 18 hours. I crossed at a small checkpoint, paid the right people, asked no questions. By the time I reached Playa Encantada, it was late afternoon. The town was beautiful. White sand beaches, colorful buildings, tourists everywhere. A paradise built on blood and money. I found the Villa Morgan told me about. Gated, just like she said. 2 guards at the entrance, casual but armed. I parked a block away and watched through binoculars. At exactly 8 o'clock, Dominic walked out. Same tropical shirt from the photo. Sunglasses. Confident. Smiling. He got into a black Mercedes and drove toward town. I followed at a distance. He parked outside La Maria, the restaurant Morgan mentioned. Walked inside like he didn't have a care in the world. I sat in my truck, watching, waiting, planning. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Victor. Dominic's voice. Calm. Cold. My blood froze. Surprised, he continued. You didn't think I'd notice you following me, did you? I've been watching you since you crossed the border. You're predictable, brother. Just like always. Where are you? Close. Close enough to see you sitting in that truck, thinking you're some kind of hero. He laughed. You should have stayed home, Victor. Should have taken the loss and moved on. But no. You had to be the tough guy. The SEAL who never quits. You shot me 8 times. And yet here you are? Guess I should have used more bullets. Rage burned through me. I'm going to find you, Dominic. And when I do, when you do what? Kill me? You don't have it in you. You're too honorable. Too soft. That's why I won. That's why I'll always win. We'll see. Yes, we will. Oh, and Victor? Say hi to Harper for me. Tell her Uncle Dominic says hello. The line went dead. My heart stopped. Harper. He knew about Harper. I dialed Clara immediately. It rang 4 times before she answered. Victor? What's wrong? Where's Harper? She's upstairs doing homework. Why? What's going on? Lock the doors. Don't let her leave the house. I'll explain later. Victor, you're scaring me. Just do it. Please. I hung up and stared at the restaurant. Dominic was gone. And now he was threatening my family. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was war. I called Tristan immediately. Brother, I need eyes on my house. Now. What's going on? Dominic knows I'm here. He just threatened Harper. I need you to get to my family before he does. On it. Give me 20 minutes. I paced outside the restaurant, every muscle tense, every instinct screaming. Dominic wasn't bluffing. He'd already proven he'd kill to get what he wanted. My daughter was just another piece on his chessboard. 15 minutes later, Tristan called back. I'm at your house. Clara let me in. She's freaked out, but safe. Harper's locked in her room. I've got eyes on all entrances. Nobody's getting in here. I exhaled for the first time in an hour. Thank you. What do you need me to do? Stay there until I say otherwise. Don't let them out of your sight. Copy that. I hung up and stared at the restaurant. Dominic was playing games, trying to get inside my head. It was working, but I couldn't let emotion drive my decisions. That's how people died. I needed to think, to plan, to turn this around. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Villa. Midnight. Come alone or I start sending pieces of your family. An address followed. It wasn't the Villa Morgan told me about. This was somewhere else. A trap. But I didn't have a choice. I arrived at the location 30 minutes before midnight. It was an abandoned warehouse near the docks, rusted metal and broken windows. Classic ambush site. I parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot, night vision goggles on, pistol drawn. Scanned for heat signatures. Found 3 inside the building. 1 by the entrance. 2 on the 2nd floor. Dominic and his guards. I could take them. But that wasn't the play. Not yet. I walked through the front door, hands visible, weapon holstered. The guard at the entrance patted me down, found my gun, took it. Expected. Upstairs, he grunted. I climbed the metal staircase. Each step echoed in the empty space. At the top, Dominic stood in the center of the room, flanked by another armed guard. He was smiling. "Victor, right on time. You always were punctual." I didn't respond, just stared at him. Silent treatment? That's mature. He walked closer. "You look terrible, by the way. Gunshot wounds healing okay. Where's my money?" "Gone. Spent. Invested. Does it matter?" He shrugged. "You're not getting it back, Victor. Accept that and move on with your life. You threatened my daughter." I made a point. "There's a difference. Touch her and I'll kill you." Dominic laughed. There it is. The soldier. The hero. The guy who thinks he's better than everyone else. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You're not better, Victor. You're just luckier. And your luck just ran out." "Why?" I asked. "Why did you do this? We were partners. Friends." "Friends." He scoffed. "You were a means to an end. Your reputation opened doors. Your connections brought clients. Your trust made it easy. You were never my friend. You were my mark." The words hit harder than the bullets. "And Clara?" I asked quietly. His smile widened. "What about her? You manipulated her. Made her sign those documents." "I didn't manipulate anyone. I just paid attention. Something you clearly didn't do." He circled me slowly. "Clara's lonely, Victor. You're always working, always planning, always off being the hero. She needed someone to listen. So I did. I took her to lunch, bought her flowers, made her feel important. And when I asked her to sign a few papers to help you with the business, she didn't hesitate." Rage boiled in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. "She didn't know what she was signing. Ignorance isn't innocence, Victor. She trusted me more than she questioned you. Think about that." I wanted to lunge at him, break his jaw, make him bleed. But the guards were watching, weapons ready. "Here's what's going to happen," Dominic said. "You're going to go home. Tell the police you have no idea where I am. Drop the investigation. Move on. If you don't, I'll make sure Clara goes to prison for fraud and conspiracy. Her signature is on everything. The FBI will have no choice but to charge her. You set her up. I protected myself. Big difference." He leaned in close. "And if you come after me again, I won't just threaten Harper. I'll make sure you never see her again." "Understood." I stared into his eyes. The man I thought I knew was gone, if he ever existed at all. "Understood," I said quietly. "Good. Now get out." I turned and walked toward the stairs. The guard handed me my gun back, unloaded. I didn't look back. But as I stepped outside into the night air, I made a decision. Dominic thought he'd won, thought he'd broken me. He was wrong. I drove back to my hotel and sat in the dark, thinking. Dominic had leverage, Clara's signature, the threat to Harper, cartel protection. He had every advantage. Except one. He didn't know I'd already talked to Morgan. Didn't know I had recordings of him and Blake planning everything. Didn't know I was 3 steps ahead. I called Tristan again. "Change of plans. I need you to get Clara and Harper out of that house. Tonight. Take them to the safe house in Colorado. The one we used for witness protection ops." "You sure?" "Positive. Dominic's escalating. I need them somewhere he can't reach." "What about you?" "I'm finishing this." "Victor, don't do anything stupid." Too late. I hung up and pulled out the recordings Tristan had sent me. Blake and Dominic's voices, clear as day, discussing the setup, the fraud, the plan to frame Clara. This was my ammunition. But I needed one more thing. Proof that Dominic was laundering money for the cartel. That would bring the FBI and Mexican authorities down on him harder than anything I could do alone. I called Morgan. "I need the name of Dominic's cartel contact. The enforcer. Mateo." "Why?" "Because I'm going to make him an offer." "You're insane." "Probably. But it'll work." She gave me the information. A bar on the south side of town. Mateo would be there tonight. I grabbed my gear and headed out. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about protecting my family and making sure Dominic paid for everything he'd done. And I was willing to burn it all down to make that happen. The bar was exactly the kind of place where deals were made and bodies disappeared. Dim lights, smoke-filled air, men with cold eyes watching every move. I walked in wearing plain clothes, no military gear, no visible weapons. Just another tourist who got lost. The bartender barely looked at me. What do you want? Tequila. And information about Mateo. His face changed. You got a death wish, gringo? Just business. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded toward the back corner. He's the one in black. But if you go over there, you're on your own. I grabbed the tequila and walked toward the corner booth. Mateo sat alone, dressed head to toe in black, a scar running down his left cheek. His eyes tracked me the entire way. I sat down across from him without asking permission. You're either very brave or very stupid, he said in perfect English. Neither. Just practical. What do you want? I want to make a deal. You're working with Dominic Wells. I want him, and you want to keep your operation clean. I can give you both. Mateo leaned back, amused. Why would I betray a business partner? Because he's using you. Laundering stolen money through your network makes you vulnerable. If the FBI traces it back, your entire operation gets exposed. But if you help me, I can make sure the heat stays on Dominic and nowhere else. His expression didn't change, but I saw the calculation in his eyes. You have proof of this? I pulled out my phone and played the recording of Dominic bragging about using the cartel to clean the money. Mateo listened without moving. When it finished, he smiled. You recorded this yourself? With help. And what exactly do you want from me? Tell me where Dominic keeps the money. Then walk away. When this is over, your name never comes up. Mateo studied me carefully. You were military. Special Forces. Navy SEAL. He nodded slowly. I respect that. But respect doesn't pay my bills. What's in it for me? Dominic's planning to double-cross you. He's already arranged a side deal with another group. Once he's cleaned the money, you're expendable. Mateo's jaw tightened. How do you know this? Because that's what he does. He used me. He used my wife. He's using you. It's just a matter of time. For the first time, Mateo looked genuinely angry. He pulled out his phone and made a call in rapid Spanish. When he hung up, he locked eyes with me. The money is at a storage facility near the airport. Unit 42. Dominic checks it every 3 days. He'll be there tomorrow morning at 10. Alone. With one guard. But that won't be your problem. He stood up. After tomorrow, Dominic and I are done. You want him? He's yours. But if you bring police or federals into my territory, I'll hunt you down myself. Understood. Mateo walked out, leaving me alone with my tequila and a location. I spent the rest of the night preparing. Called Tristan to confirm Clara and Harper were safe. They were. Then I went over the plan a dozen times in my head. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. About making sure Dominic couldn't hurt anyone else. At 9 the next morning, I positioned myself across from the storage facility. It was a rundown place, chain-link fence, rows of orange units, minimal security. Perfect for hiding dirty money. At exactly 10 o'clock, Dominic's black Mercedes pulled up. He got out, followed by a guard carrying a duffel bag. They walked to Unit 42, unlocked it, and went inside. I waited 5 minutes. Then I moved. I approached from the side, staying low. The guard was standing outside now, smoking a cigarette, weapon holstered. Sloppy. I came up behind him, wrapped my arm around his throat, and squeezed. He struggled for 10 seconds before going limp. I zip-tied his hands and dragged him behind the next unit. Then I walked into Unit 42. Dominic was kneeling over stacks of cash, counting. He didn't hear me until I was 3 feet away. Hello, brother. He spun around, eyes wide. Victor, how did you? Mateo sends his regards. Dominic's face went pale. He stood slowly, hands raised. Listen, we can work this out. We're past that. I'll give you the money back. All of it. We can split it. 50-50. You can disappear, start over. I don't want the money, Dominic. I want you to answer for what you did. He laughed nervously. Answer to who? The police? Good luck proving anything. My lawyer's already prepared a defense that puts everything on Clara. She signed the documents. Victor. Not me. I know. That's why I brought this. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of him and Blake discussing how they set her up. His face drained of color. That's illegal. You can't use that. Watch me. Victor, please. I'm sorry. I made mistakes. But you don't have to do this. Think about Harper. Think about your family. If you turn me in, this becomes public. Everyone will know Clara was involved. Is that what you want? For a moment, I hesitated. He was right. Going public would destroy Clara's reputation, even if she was innocent. But then I thought about the 8 bullets. The lies. The manipulation. The threat against my daughter. You should have thought about that before you pulled the trigger. I grabbed him by the collar and dragged him outside. He struggled, but he was weak compared to me. I threw him against the fence and zip-tied his hands. This is kidnapping, he shouted. You can't do this. Watch me. I called Detective Ryder. I have Dominic Wells. Storage facility near Playa Encantada Airport, Unit 42. You have 30 minutes before I hand him over to the locals. Victor, don't move. We're coordinating with Mexican authorities now. I hung up and sat down on the curb, watching Dominic squirm against the fence. This isn't over, he spat. You think you've won? Clara's signature is still on those documents. The FBI will still come after her. Not after they hear the recordings. Not after Blake testifies against you to save himself. You're done, Dominic. He glared at me with pure hatred. You should have stayed dead. Yeah, probably. But here we are. 25 minutes later, sirens filled the air. Mexican police and FBI vehicles surrounded the facility. Detective Ryder stepped out, flanked by agents. Victor Kane, step away from the suspect. I stood up and walked toward them, hands visible. Ryder looked at Dominic, then at me. You just caused an international incident. He shot me 8 times and stole $2 million. I'd say we're even. Ryder almost smiled. Get out of here before I have to arrest you too. I didn't need to be told twice. I drove straight to the safe house in Colorado. 22 hours on the road, fueled by coffee and adrenaline. I didn't stop except for gas. I needed to see Clara and Harper with my own eyes, confirm they were safe. When I pulled up to the cabin, Tristan was on the porch with a rifle across his lap. He stood when he saw me. They're inside, shaken up, but safe. Thank you, brother. What happened in Mexico? Dominic's in custody. FBI has him. It's over. Tristan studied my face. You don't look like it's over. It's not. Not completely. I walked inside. Clara was sitting at the kitchen table, Harper beside her. When they saw me, Harper jumped up and ran into my arms. Dad, you're okay. I held her tight, breathing in the smell of her shampoo, feeling her heartbeat against my chest. I'm okay, sweetheart. Everything's okay. Clara stood slowly, her eyes searching mine. Is he really caught? Yes. The FBI has him. He's not getting out. She exhaled, but there were tears in her eyes. Victor, I need to tell you something. About those papers I signed. I know, I interrupted gently. I know what happened. Dominic manipulated you. He made you think you were helping me. You didn't do anything wrong. Her face crumpled. But I signed them. I didn't read them. I just trusted him. And now the FBI has recordings proving it was all a setup. Blake's already turning state's evidence to save himself. You're not going to be charged with anything. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. Harper looked between us, confused and scared. I pulled Clara into my arms. It's over. You're safe. Both of you. We stood there for a long time, holding each other, letting the weight of the last few weeks finally settle. 2 days later, I got a call from Detective Ryder. Victor, we need you to come back to the States. We have some developments. What kind of developments? The kind you'll want to hear in person. I flew back to Denver the next morning. Ryder met me at the FBI field office, along with a federal prosecutor named Agent Hayes. Victor Kane, Hayes said, shaking my hand. Thank you for coming in. We've been going through the evidence you provided, along with what we've gathered from Blake Morrison's cooperation. What did you find? Ryder pulled out a folder. Dominic wasn't just laundering your money through the cartel. He was running a much bigger operation. We found evidence of at least 6 other victims, business partners, investors, associates, all scammed the same way over the past 5 years. Total losses exceed $12 million. My stomach turned. $12 million. And counting. We're still tracing offshore accounts. Hayes leaned forward. But here's the problem. Dominic's lawyer is arguing entrapment. He's claiming you coerced him, that the cartel connection was fabricated. That's insane. Maybe. But without more evidence linking Dominic directly to the cartel's money laundering operation, his defense might work. He could walk on the major charges and only face fraud. I felt rage building again. So what do you need from me? Hayes exchanged a look with Ryder. We need you to testify. Everything you know, everything you saw, everyone you talked to, including your meeting with Mateo, the cartel enforcer. Yes, we know it's dangerous. Testifying against cartel-connected criminals puts you and your family at risk. But it's the only way to guarantee Dominic goes away for life. I didn't hesitate. I'll do it. The trial took 4 months to prepare. During that time, Clara and Harper stayed at the safe house with round-the-clock security. I stayed in Denver, working with prosecutors, going through evidence, preparing testimony. Blake Morrison testified first, laying out the entire scheme. How he and Dominic had been planning this for over a year before I even met Dominic. How they targeted me specifically because of my military reputation and connections. How they used Clara as a scapegoat in case anything went wrong. When it was my turn to testify, I walked into that courtroom and told the truth. All of it. The shooting, the betrayal, the Mexico operation, my conversation with Mateo, the recordings, everything. Dominic sat at the defense table, staring at me with cold hatred. His lawyer tried to paint me as a vigilante, someone who took the law into his own hands. But the evidence was overwhelming. The prosecutor played the recordings of Dominic bragging about setting up Clara, about how easy it was to manipulate people, about his plans to expand the operation with cartel money. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Fraud. Conspiracy, money laundering, attempted murder. The judge sentenced him to 35 years in federal prison. I sat in the gallery and watched them take him away in handcuffs. He looked back at me once, and for a moment, I saw fear in his eyes. Good. 3 weeks after the trial ended, I got an unexpected visitor at my hotel. I opened the door to find Morgan standing there, looking different, cleaner, healthier, hopeful. Hey, she said quietly. Morgan, what are you doing here? I wanted to thank you for keeping my name out of the trial. The prosecutors never mentioned me. You helped me when you didn't have to. I owed you that. She smiled sadly. I also wanted to tell you I'm leaving the country, starting over somewhere new. Mexico holds too many bad memories. Where will you go? Europe, maybe. Somewhere I can disappear and rebuild. She hesitated. What about you? What's next? I thought about Clara and Harper, waiting for me in Colorado. About the life we still had to rebuild. About the trust that needed healing. Home, I said. I'm going home. She nodded. Good luck, Victor. You deserve it. You too. She turned and walked away. I watched her go, another casualty of Dominic's lies, trying to find her way back to herself. That night, I called Clara. It's done. Dominic's sentenced. 35 years. I heard her exhale on the other end. It's really over? It's really over. When are you coming home? Tomorrow. I'm catching the first flight out. There was a long pause. Then Clara's voice, soft and broken. Victor, I don't know if we can go back to how things were. Too much has happened. Too much trust has been broken. My heart sank, but I understood. I know. But maybe we can build something new. Something honest. If you're willing to try. I am. Whatever it takes. Then come home. We'll figure it out together. I hung up and stared out the hotel window at the city lights below. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. The nightmare was over. Now came the hard part, learning to live again. I flew back to Colorado the next morning. The drive from the airport to the safe house felt longer than usual. I rehearsed what I'd say to Clara 100 times in my head, but none of it felt right. When I pulled up, Harper was outside throwing a tennis ball for a stray dog she'd apparently adopted. She ran to me the moment I stepped out of the truck. Dad, you're back. I hugged her tight. I'm back, sweetheart. For good this time. Does that mean we can go home? Soon. I need to talk to your mom first. Harper nodded knowingly. She was 16, old enough to understand that things between Clara and me were complicated now. I found Clara inside, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. She looked up when I walked in, and I saw exhaustion in her eyes. This had aged her, changed her. It had changed both of us. Hey, I said quietly. Hey. She gestured to the chair across from her. Sit. I sat down. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Clara broke the silence. I've been thinking a lot these past few months. About us. About what happened. About whether we can fix this. And I honestly don't know. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. You kept secrets from me, Victor. You went to Mexico without telling me the truth. You put yourself in danger and left me here terrified that I'd lose you. I was trying to protect you. I know. But that's the problem. You always think you have to carry everything alone. Like you're still that Navy SEAL who can't show weakness or ask for help. She wiped her eyes. I'm your wife. Or at least I was. And you shut me out when I needed to be let in. Her words hit hard because they were true. You're right, I admitted. I did shut you out. I was so focused on fixing the problem that I forgot we were supposed to face it together. And then there's what I did, Clara said, her voice breaking. I signed those papers without reading them. I let Dominic manipulate me because I was lonely and you were never around, and I just wanted someone to pay attention to me. I'm as much to blame for this mess as anyone. No, Dominic manipulated you. That's not your fault. But I let him. I made myself vulnerable to it. She looked down at her hands. We both made mistakes, Victor. Big ones. And I don't know if we can come back from that. The weight of her words settled over me. I'd fought through war zones, survived gunshots, tracked down a criminal across international borders. But this conversation felt harder than all of it. So what do we do? I asked. Clara took a deep breath. I think we need time apart. Not forever, maybe. But for now, I need space to figure out who I am without being defined by what happened. And you need to figure out how to let people in. Are you asking for a divorce? I'm asking for separation. Real separation. Not just physical distance, but emotional too. We both need to heal, Victor. And I don't think we can do that together. I wanted to argue. To tell her we could work through it. That I'd change. That things would be different. But I knew she was right. Okay, I said quietly. If that's what you need. It is. She reached across the table and took my hand. But I want you to know, I don't hate you. I never could. You saved us. You brought Dominic to justice. You protected Harper. You're a good man, Victor. You're just not good at being vulnerable. I squeezed her hand. What about Harper? We'll co-parent. She needs both of us. And we'll figure out the details as we go. Clara pulled her hand back gently. But for now, I think it's best if you find your own place. I nodded, my throat tight. I understand. 3 weeks later, I moved into a small apartment downtown. It was quiet, empty, the kind of place where the silence echoed off the walls and reminded you how alone you were. Harper visited on weekends. We'd go hiking, grab dinner, watch movies. She never asked about the separation directly, but I could see the questions in her eyes. The worry. Are you and Mom going to be okay? She finally asked one Saturday afternoon while we were sitting by a lake. I don't know, honey, but we're trying. Do you still love her? Yes, always. Then why aren't you fighting for her? I looked at my daughter, so wise beyond her years. Because sometimes fighting means giving someone space. Your mom needs time to heal. And so do I. Harper leaned her head on my shoulder. I miss how things used to be. Me too. While Clara and Harper rebuilt their lives, I focused on mine. I started therapy, something I should have done years ago. Learned to talk about the trauma I'd carried since my SEAL days, the guilt over brothers I'd lost, the walls I'd built to protect myself. I also started a new project. With the money I'd recovered from Dominic, minus legal fees and restitution to his other victims, I founded a nonprofit called Guardian Legacy. It provided support services for veterans who'd been financially exploited or scammed after leaving the military. Morgan reached out from Europe and offered to help remotely. She understood betrayal better than anyone. Together, we built something that actually mattered. Detective Ryder checked in every few weeks. He'd become something close to a friend through all of this. "How are you holding up?" he asked during one of our coffee meetings. "Day by day," I said honestly. "Some days are harder than others. That's life, brother. You did good work bringing Dominic down. A lot of people got justice because of you. Doesn't feel like justice when my marriage is falling apart." Ryder nodded slowly. "You can't save everyone, Victor. Sometimes you just have to save yourself." 6 months after the trial, I got a call from the federal prosecutor. Dominic had filed an appeal, claiming new evidence. My chest tightened. "What kind of evidence?" "It's nothing substantial." His lawyer's grasping at straws. "But we need you to be prepared to testify again if it goes to a hearing." "I'll be there." The hearing happened 2 months later. I sat in the same courtroom, watched Dominic walk in wearing an orange jumpsuit, looking thinner and older. His eyes found mine, and for a moment, I saw something I hadn't expected: regret. The judge reviewed the new evidence, which amounted to nothing, and denied the appeal within an hour. Dominic's sentence stood: 35 years, no parole for at least 20. As they let him out, he stopped and looked back at me. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. I didn't respond, just watched him disappear through the doors. Later, outside the courthouse, Clara was waiting. She'd come to support me, even though we were still separated. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Relieved. Tired. Ready to move forward." She smiled softly. "Me too." "Does that mean?" "It means I'm ready to try," she interrupted. "Not today, not tomorrow, but maybe soon. If you're willing to do the work." "I am. Whatever it takes." She reached out and touched my face gently. "Then let's take it slow. One day at a time." "One day at a time," I repeated. For the first time in months, I felt something close to hope. A year passed. Slowly, carefully, Clara and I rebuilt what had been broken. We went to couples therapy every week, had honest conversations about trust, vulnerability, and what we needed from each other. Harper watched us navigate it all with cautious optimism. Guardian Legacy grew beyond anything I'd imagined. We helped over 200 veterans in the first year alone. People who'd been scammed by fake investment schemes, predatory lenders, or con artists who targeted military families. Morgan became our remote operations director, using her experience with Dominic's schemes to identify warning signs and protect others. I was giving a presentation at a veterans event in Phoenix when my phone rang. "Detective Ryder." "Victor, we need to talk." "It's urgent." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Not over the phone." "Can you get back to Denver today?" "I'm on the next flight." For hours later, I walked into Ryder's office at the police station. He wasn't alone. Agent Hayes from the FBI was there, along with another agent I didn't recognize. "Victor, this is Agent Chun from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit," Ryder said. We shook hands. Chun's expression was grim. "Mr. Kane, we've uncovered new information regarding Dominic Wells. Information that changes everything." "What kind of information?" Chun opened a laptop and turned it toward me. 3 weeks ago, we received an anonymous tip about irregularities in the evidence used to convict Dominic. We investigated and found something disturbing. On the screen was a bank statement showing transactions from an offshore account, my offshore account, one I'd never opened. "What is this?" "Someone created a shell company in your name 6 months before Dominic shot you. They've been moving money through it, small amounts, untraceable, designed to look like you were hiding assets." My blood ran cold. "I never opened that account." "We know. But here's the problem. Whoever did this used your personal information, your signatures, your passwords. The digital trail leads directly to you. Dominic set me up." "That's what we thought at first," Hayes said. "But Dominic's been in federal prison for over a year. He couldn't have done this." "Then who?" Chin pulled up another document. "We traced the IP addresses used to create these accounts. They originated from 3 locations: Mexico, Colorado, and Denver. The Colorado location is particularly interesting." He showed me the address. It was the safe house where Clara and Harper had stayed. My heart stopped. No, Clara wouldn't. We're not accusing your wife, Mr. Kane, Chin said quickly. But someone with access to that location created these accounts. We need to figure out who. My mind raced. Tristan had been there. Morgan had remote access to our systems. Blake was in prison. Who else? Then it hit me. Blake, I said. He had a partner. Someone he never named during the trial. Ryder nodded slowly. We thought of that. Blake's in federal prison, but we brought him in for questioning this morning. He swears he doesn't know anything about these new accounts. He's lying. Maybe. Or maybe there's someone else we missed. Agent Chin closed the laptop. Mr. Kane, until we sort this out, you're a person of interest in an ongoing financial fraud investigation. We're not charging you with anything yet, but we need you to cooperate fully. Of course, that means giving us access to all your financial records, communications, and business files for Guardian Legacy. I felt the walls closing in. Someone was framing me, using the same playbook Dominic had used on Clara, and I had no idea who. I called Tristan immediately after leaving the police station. Brother, I need you to dig into our systems. Someone's setting me up. What kind of setup? Fake offshore accounts, shell companies, financial fraud. The FBI thinks I'm involved. That's insane. I know, but someone with access to our network created these accounts. I need to know who. Give me 24 hours. I went home and told Clara everything. She listened without interrupting, her face pale. This is exactly what Dominic did to me, she said quietly. I know. Who would do this to you? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went through every person who'd been involved in the case. Blake, Morgan, Tristan, the detectives, the prosecutors. Who had the means, motive, and opportunity? My phone buzzed at 3 a.m. Tristan, I found something. You need to see this. I drove to his place immediately. He had 3 monitors running, code streaming across the screens. Someone's been accessing Guardian Legacy's financial systems for months, he said. They've been creating fake donor accounts, siphoning small amounts, and routing them through shell companies. It's sophisticated, military-grade encryption. Can you trace it? I did. The access codes match one person. He pulled up a name on the screen. My blood froze. Morgan. No, that's impossible. The evidence doesn't lie, Victor. She's been using her administrator access to move money. Started about 6 months ago, right after the trial ended. I felt sick. Why would she do this? Revenge? Money? Maybe Dominic got to her somehow. I thought back to every conversation with Morgan. Every meeting. Every decision to trust her. Had I been played again? I called Detective Ryder and told him everything. Within hours, they had a warrant for Morgan's arrest. Interpol tracked her to a small town in Portugal. When they brought her in for questioning, I was watching through one-way glass. She looked different. Harder. Colder. Agent Chin sat across from her. Ms. Ellis, we have evidence that you've been creating fraudulent accounts in Victor Kane's name. Do you want to explain that? Morgan smiled. I don't know what you're talking about. We have digital forensics linking you to offshore accounts, shell companies, and wire transfers totaling over $400,000. Her smile widened. You should ask Victor about those accounts. He's the one who opened them. We know he didn't. Do you? Or are you just taking his word for it? She leaned forward. Victor Kane is a trained Navy SEAL. You think he doesn't know how to hide money? How to manipulate systems? He played you all. Chin didn't flinch. We also found communications between you and Evan Wells, Dominic's brother, the one who's supposed to be in prison. Morgan's face changed. Just slightly. Evan was released 3 months ago on technicality, Chin continued. His conviction was overturned due to procedural errors. And guess who he contacted first? Morgan's confidence cracked. I want a lawyer. The truth came out over the next few days. Evan had been orchestrating everything from the beginning. He'd manipulated Morgan, convinced her that I'd stolen money from Dominic, that I was the real criminal. He'd promised her revenge and a share of the money if she helped frame me. Morgan had believed him, just like she'd believed Dominic. Just like Clara had believed Dominic. Just like I'd believed Dominic. We were all victims of the same family of con artists. Evan was arrested in Mexico 2 weeks later. This time, there were no technicalities, no appeals. He was charged with fraud, conspiracy, and witness tampering. Morgan took a plea deal, 5 years in exchange for testimony against Evan. When I saw her in court, she wouldn't look at me. After Evan's arrest and Morgan's betrayal came to light, the FBI cleared my name completely. The fraudulent accounts were traced back to Evan's network, and all charges against me were dropped. But the damage was done. Trust had been shattered again. This time, my trust in my own judgment. I stood in front of the Guardian Legacy office, staring at the sign we'd worked so hard to build. The nonprofit had helped hundreds of veterans, but now it was tainted by scandal. News outlets ran stories about how I'd been targeted by another con artist. Some questioned whether the organization was legitimate at all. Clara found me there that evening, sitting on the curb outside the locked office. "Victor," she said softly, sitting down beside me. "You can't let this destroy what you've built." Morgan used Guardian Legacy to steal money. She used our mission, helping veterans who'd been scammed, to run her own scam. How do I come back from that? The same way we came back from Dominic. One step at a time. With truth. I looked at her. I trusted her. After everything, I still fell for it. Because you're not a cynic. You still believe people can be good. That's not a weakness, Victor. That's what makes you who you are. It makes me a target. It makes you human. She took my hand. And it makes you the kind of person who actually changes lives. Look at what you've accomplished. 200 veterans helped. Families saved from predatory schemes. That's real. Morgan's betrayal doesn't erase that. I squeezed her hand. Thank you. For what? For still being here. After everything I put you through. She smiled. We put each other through it. But we're still standing. That has to count for something. The next morning, I called an emergency board meeting for Guardian Legacy. Our board members, all veterans, all people who understood betrayal, gathered in the conference room. I stood at the head of the table and told them everything. Morgan's scheme, Evan's manipulation, the FBI investigation, the cleared charges. I understand if you want to dissolve the organization, I said. My name is associated with 2 major fraud cases now. That's not the kind of publicity that helps veterans. An older veteran named Preston spoke first. He'd lost his leg in Iraq and his savings to a fake investment scheme. Guardian Legacy had helped him rebuild. "Victor, you saved my life. Not just financially. You gave me hope when I had none. If you're stepping down because of bad press, you're making a mistake." "Preston's right," said another board member, a former Marine named Ivy. "Morgan fooled all of us. Not just you. And now she's facing justice. That's the story we need to tell." One by one, every board member voted to continue the organization. But they added one condition. We'd bring in an independent financial auditor and create strict oversight protocols to prevent future fraud. Transparency and accountability, Preston said. That's how we rebuild trust. I agreed. Over the next 3 months, we restructured Guardian Legacy from the ground up, hired a professional CFO, implemented fraud detection systems, created a public dashboard showing exactly where every dollar went. Donations dropped at first, but slowly, people started believing in us again. Veterans who'd been helped shared their stories. Media outlets ran follow-up pieces highlighting our reforms. Guardian Legacy survived. Meanwhile, Evan's trial moved forward. Unlike Dominic's case, this one was messier. Evan was smarter, more cautious. He'd covered his tracks better. His lawyer argued that Morgan had acted independently, that Evan had no knowledge of the fraud. The prosecution needed stronger evidence. That's when Agent Chen approached me with an unusual request. "We need you to visit Dominic in prison." Why would I do that? Because Evan's his brother, and Dominic might be willing to testify against him if the right person asks. I didn't want to see Dominic. The thought of sitting across from the man who'd shot me 8 times, who destroyed my life, made my blood boil. But if it meant stopping Evan from getting away with it, I'd do it. The federal prison was cold and gray, the kind of place designed to break your spirit. They brought Dominic into the visiting room in handcuffs and an orange jumpsuit. He looked older, thinner, defeated. He sat down across from me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "Victor," he finally said, "I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to be here. Why are you? Your brother, Evan. He's following in your footsteps, conning people, destroying lives. And I need your help to stop him." Dominic laughed bitterly. "You want me to testify against my own brother? I want you to do the right thing. For once in your miserable life." His face hardened. "You think you're better than me? That you're some hero?" "No. I think I'm someone who tries to fix things instead of breaking them. And I think even you have a line you won't cross. Family. That's the line. Evan crossed it when he manipulated Morgan to frame me. When he put my daughter in danger. When he used your name to hurt people." I leaned forward. "You and I have history. Bad history. But at least you had the guts to face me yourself. Evan hides behind other people. Makes them do his dirty work. Is that the kind of brother you want to protect?" Dominic stared at me for a long time. Then he looked down at his handcuffed wrists. "What's in it for me?" "Nothing. No deals. No reduced sentence. Just the knowledge that you stopped your brother from hurting more people." He shook his head. "That's not much of a sales pitch. It's the only one I've got." Dominic was quiet for a moment. Then he looked up, eyes cold. "I'll testify. But not for you. For me. Because Evan visited me once. Once. In 3 years. And when he did, he told me I was an idiot for getting caught. That he'd do it better. Smarter. He was wrong. Yeah, he was." Dominic smiled bitterly. "Tell the prosecutor I'll cooperate. But I want it on record that I'm doing this because I want to. Not because you convinced me." "Fair enough." As I stood to leave, Dominic spoke again. "Victor, for what it's worth, I am sorry. About Clara. About Harper. About everything." I looked back at him. "Sorry doesn't change what you did. But it's a start." Dominic's testimony was devastating. He detailed Evan's schemes going back 15 years, named accomplices, provided financial records he'd kept hidden. The jury convicted Evan on 14 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. The judge sentenced him to 42 years. When they let him out of the courtroom, Evan looked at me with pure hatred. But I didn't feel anger anymore. Just exhaustion. And relief. It was finally over. That night, Clara, Harper, and I had dinner together at our house. The first time in almost 2 years that we'd all been under the same roof. Harper told stories about college applications. Clara talked about her new job. I shared updates about Guardian Legacy. We laughed. We cried. We remembered what it felt like to be a family. After Harper went to bed, Clara and I sat on the porch, watching the stars. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked. "I think so. It'll take time. But yeah, we're going to be okay." She rested her head on my shoulder. "Good. Because I'm tired of fighting." "Me too." We sat there in comfortable silence. Two people who'd been through hell and somehow found their way back to each other. 2 years later, I stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Guardian Legacy's new headquarters. The building wasn't fancy, just a renovated warehouse on the east side of Denver, but it represented everything we'd fought for. Second chances. Redemption. Hope. Clara stood beside me, her hand in mine. Harper was there too, home from college for the weekend, taking photos for her journalism project. Tristan, detective writer, and over 100 veterans we'd helped filled the parking lot. Preston wheeled forward in his chair and handed me the scissors. "This is your moment, Victor. You earned it." I looked at the crowd. People whose lives had been shattered by betrayal, just like mine. People who'd lost everything and somehow found the strength to rebuild. "This isn't my moment," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's ours. Every single person here survived something that should have destroyed them. We were shot, robbed, betrayed by people we trusted. But we're still standing. And that's worth celebrating." The crowd erupted in cheers. I cut the ribbon, and people flooded inside to see the new counseling offices, legal support center, and financial education rooms we'd built. Clara squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you. I couldn't have done this without you." "I know," she said with a smile. But you could have tried harder to push me away, and I still would have stayed. I laughed. It felt good. Natural. Like breathing after holding your breath for years. Later that evening, after everyone had gone home, I found myself alone in my new office. On the wall hung a framed photo. Harper, Clara, and me on a hiking trip last summer. We looked happy, healed, whole. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the new building. You did good, brother. D. Dominic. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it, block the number, pretend he didn't exist. But another part of me, the part that had learned forgiveness wasn't about excusing what someone did, but about freeing yourself from the weight of it, decided to respond. Thanks. I hope you're finding your own redemption. I hit send and put the phone away. That night, Clara and I sat on our back porch with glasses of wine, watching fireflies dance across the yard. Harper was inside, video calling friends. Everything felt peaceful. Right. Do you ever think about what would have happened if Dominic hadn't pulled that trigger? Clara asked. Sometimes. But I can't live in the what-ifs. I can only deal with what is. And what is? I looked at her. This woman who'd stood by me through bullets, betrayal, and broken trust. Who'd given me space when I needed it and fought for us when I was ready to give up. What is, I said, is that I'm sitting here with the woman I love, watching our daughter grow into someone amazing, helping people who need it. That's more than I deserve after everything. You deserve all of it, Clara said firmly. You fought for it. You earned it. We sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes after surviving storms together. 3 months later, I received a letter from the federal prison. It was from Blake, my former lawyer. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity got the better of me. Victor, I know I don't have the right to ask for your forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable. I helped Dominic destroy your life for money, for greed, and I'll carry that shame until the day I die. But I wanted you to know that watching you build Guardian Legacy from prison has changed something in me. I've started helping other inmates with legal issues, pro bono work, the kind I should have been doing all along. I'll be in here for another 8 years. And when I get out, I don't expect you to give me a job or even speak to me. But I hope that someday, you'll know that you inspired me to be better. Blake, I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. Forgiveness was a journey, not a destination. Maybe someday I'd be ready to respond. But not today. On a crisp autumn morning, I took Harper to visit the memorial for fallen Navy SEALs. We stood in front of the wall of names, brothers I'd served with, friends I'd lost. You never talk about them, Harper said quietly. It's hard. They gave everything. And sometimes I wonder if I'm honoring their sacrifice by how I live. Are you? I thought about Guardian Legacy, about the lives we'd saved, about choosing healing over revenge, justice over hatred. I'm trying. Harper put her arm around me. They'd be proud of you, Dad. I know I am. We stood there for a long time, surrounded by the names of heroes, reminded that survival meant more than just staying alive. It meant building something worth living for. That evening, I recorded a video message for Guardian Legacy's social media. Clara held the camera while I spoke from the heart. If you're watching this, you've probably been through something that broke you. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was violence. Maybe someone you trusted destroyed everything you worked for. I know that pain. I've lived it. I was shot 8 times by my business partner, a man I called my brother. He stole $2 million and tried to frame my wife for his crimes. I almost died. My family almost fell apart. But here's what I learned. Being broken doesn't mean being finished. You can rebuild. You can heal. You can create something beautiful from the pieces of what was shattered. To everyone who's supported Guardian Legacy, who's shared their story, who's chosen hope over bitterness, thank you. You've shown me what true strength looks like. And to those of you still struggling, still fighting to survive another day, I see you. You're not alone. There's a community here waiting to help you rebuild. Stay strong. Stay hopeful. And know that the best revenge against those who tried to destroy you is living a life so full of purpose that they become irrelevant. I paused, looking directly at the camera. I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Comment below and let me know what city or country you're in. Hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of survival, betrayal, and redemption. And most importantly, tell me what kind of stories you want to hear next. What struggles are you facing? What battles are you fighting? Let me know, and I'll bring you more stories that speak to your journey. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next thriller, in the next epic tale of revenge and justice. Stay safe out there. Clara stopped recording. That was perfect. You think people will respond? I know they will. Because you're giving them something real. Something honest. She was right. Within hours, the comments poured in. Veterans sharing their stories. Families thanking us for helping them. People from around the world connecting over shared pain and shared hope. That night, as I lay in bed next to Clara, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The bullets. The betrayal. The darkness I'd walked through to find the light. Are you happy? Clara asked sleepily. Yes, I said, and I meant it. I really am. She kissed my forehead and fell asleep in my arms. I stared at the ceiling, grateful for second chances, for healing, for the messy, beautiful process of rebuilding a life worth living. Dominic had tried to bury me. He didn't know I was a seed. And now, I was growing into something stronger than he could ever destroy.